addition, subtraction, division. Those things all work. And you learn that one is a part of the other. If you can add it, you can subtract it. And if you can add it, you can add it a number of times, and it's called multiplication. And you grow from idea to idea to idea. And that's what basics is about. It doesn't matter that there are 101 things you need to have before the poop hits the propeller. That came from Argentina. It had nothing to do with the United States.
Yeah.
And these things roll through popularity. Oh, I'm going to get excoriated by the guys out there who have no experience because they don't like me saying that it's not the poop that hits the propeller, it's the poop that's in your ears, so you can't hear, and in your eyes, and you can't see, and in your brain, and you can't think. Those are the things that you got to get over because there are some basics. Hey, Daniel Crockett had a great life. Look what we tell about him. He must have had a great life. Look how much we remember him for all the things he did. And yet, he was not self-sufficient. He was dang near totally self-reliant, but he didn't make his own gun. He didn't cast his own metal. I think he got to where he made his own bullets, but he didn't make his gunpowder. You see, there were things he borrowed. He'd go out and kill a pig and take it to somebody and say, I need a gun. Fine. My kids need to eat. I'll make you a gun. That's what the gun makers. So those are the things that we have to learn, that in a society, we all have a part to play. And the important thing is that we play our part very, very well. And then we have a society. And that's what we had until it's become polarized by the have-nots whining about the haves having what they got. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I think the politics are polarizing us as communities. We were pretty, we got along really well. We had unanimity. We were friends among ourselves. We got along with each other. And now all of a sudden we're divided by striations of income, striations of color, striations of sex. I mean, it's coming apart all around us.
And divided we fall.
Absolutely. What is it? Yeah. United we stand, divided we get splattered all over the sidewalk. I think that's what it is.
So, if there are people who want to get into preparedness, they say to themselves, yeah, the time's up, I really should start preparing. What do you suggest to someone who's just getting into it? Where do they start, or what do they do?
Well, they take responsibility. They give themselves the authority to be responsible for themselves, and then they have to be accountable. It's just like a good audit team, They have to have the authority to do something when they find something wrong. They have responsibility for finding it, and, they have the accountability for finding it. And that's what you have to do with your life. You have to have the authority to take care of your own self, and you have to give that talk to you. The government can't take it away. I tell you what, if I die, I will die telling the government, you cannot come in here and take my food from me just because somebody in Washington signed a document that was illegal saying you can take my stuff for the good of all concerned. Excuse me. I spent my whole life gathering this stuff. I gave up going I gave up doing a lot of things. I didn't go on cruises. I didn't buy homes for my kids. I don't live in a big house. I drive a car, a 1999 little subcompact car. I have a 95 Ford truck. I mean, I don't live. I'm rich. I'm rich in that I know a lot. I'm rich in that I have a lot of friends. I'm rich in that I can talk to people. My brain still works. But wealth, I don't have any, except that I have food to feed my family with and those in my community, because I've done just what I've advised you tonight. I have a shelter. It's defensible from the weather. It's a rock home. It's defensible against anything smaller than a 30-30, but after that it's going to go right through. I mean, I know that it's not Fort Dix, it's not Fort Sam Houston. It is not a fort, but it is a place that allows me to live within the walls of my home. I can open the windows and have air come through in the summer. In the winter, I can close and keep it warm. I don't have to have air conditioning because it was built here in South Texas with tile floors and things like that keeps the house cool if you open the windows. when you close it and run the refrigerator, it heats up like a tinderbox. It has no insulation in the walls and the ceilings because they didn't have it when they built my house in 1929. So it's virtually an old log house with stone exterior, built on piers, with a tin roof. And it's just it is our home, and we earned it. We pay for it. We buy it back every year from the government, just like everybody else does. But it's ours, and we will defend it. Whatever
well,
it takes.
Good for you. It's your right. Like you earned it.
By
it's
the
yours.
Constitution that I believe in, I have that right. I served in Uncle Sam's Army as a regular Army. I learned how to do some things. I gave 3 years of my life as was required. And,
Thank you for your service.
I did my service, and I enjoyed it. On the other hand, I worked. I didn't make a lot of money, but I had benefits, and I got 3 degrees, 3 college degrees with the 3 years of benefits they gave me. I was able to get 3 degrees, and that's enough. I was repaid. I feel like I got a good deal. I gave something. I had people say, "You shouldn't go in the military. You're too smart for that." Well, I wasn't that smart apparently because I did it, and I did it regular Army. I did 3 years, and I didn't have to do any standby stuff because there was no need in those days. And then after I had 4 kids, they didn't want me anymore, and I was 35. So getting out of debt has been. I've worked my whole life to get out of debt, raising 6 kids, putting them through school, financing my own business, being self-published. About the time I think I'm rich, I got money in the bank, it's time to print some more books, and there it goes back into books. And so I'm sitting on my inventory, and that's where my worth is. By the way, sorry,
your book, Dr. Prepper's Making the Best of Basics, Family Preparedness Handbook. Where can they buy a copy if they want one?
Well, it's available right now at Amazon.com. First time. Well, by the way, it was the number one all-time. It was the number one bestseller in nonfiction during Y2K for about 16 weeks. It was on the top. That's hard to do. That was fighting with the Motley Fools, the investor boys. They're still around, and Dr. Stephen Covey, one of my college professors, by the way, and he always called me Cousin Jim. We got to be good friends, and he lived behind my sister. my sister was his backdoor neighbor for 13 years. So got to know him pretty well after years after I had classes with him. But they were the ones that were really very popular, New York Times bestsellers, etc. I cannot be a New York Times bestseller no matter how many books I sell because I don't go through distribution. I publish my own books. They don't get out into the world where they can tabulate them, and they're not about to ask the author how many books he sold. They don't think that's kosher. So the important thing is Making the Best of Basics is available. You should have an affiliate link soon that people can go there and buy it. They go buy it at Amazon.com or go directly to MakingTheBestOfBasics.com. If they'll do that and put in there where it says, "Where did you hear about this?" put in your show, Vincent Von Doom, Vince Von Doom, Doom Show, whatever. If they'll put that in, then it'll allow you to earn a small commission for handling it, and it doesn't cost them anything, and it allows you to make a little money for taking your time and having me on your show, and I do appreciate it. That's what's called advertising. It's okay.
Excellent. I will put up a link on my website where they can order the book, and if they want, I'll have a little form where they can say that they came from me, Disaster Survival Network.
By the
once
way,
again, that's Dr. Prepper's.
This book is different from everybody else's in that it walks you through 40 years of my experience from scratch, from knowing nothing. Well, I was raised on a farm, so I already knew how to live a preparedness lifestyle because farmers do. I grew up during the Second World War in a very agrarian community where we raised our own hay, we fed our own cows, horses, we butchered our own, we had pigs, we slopped them, we took care of them, we plowed our own ground, we raised our own food, we traded it, we sold it, we kept seed, we did all that stuff that today they talk about being the old way. Well, I guess I'm really getting old. But the book has tables and charts and all kinds of mechanisms that help you write down the detail and then figure out the cost by today's stuff. It's not computerized. Having a computer that just says, okay, you got 4 people in your family, you need 40 pounds of this, does not really help you become prepared. It just tells you how deep you're going to have to go into debt or how much a commitment you're going to make. But if you sit down with your family and say, honey, how many boxes of grits did we cook this month for breakfast? How many cartons of oatmeal or packages of cereal or whatever? Okay, cereal is very expensive. Oatmeal is half the price. Grits are even cheaper. And if you buy this stuff in boxes and bags in bulk at feed stores or places like food stores where you can buy them online or go down to one of the LDS canneries, you can cut it again by 50, 60%. And you can literally have food that will get it in tin cans if you can. And the reason is that, or anything that will seal, because if you have flooding or something like that, it's still usable. You have it up there in boxes and things that will let, that water and bugs and animals and rats and mice and other things can get into, cockroaches. You put it in a tin can, it'll float, and you can just catch it, put it back in place. And that's just, you got to be smart about this. Don't take any chances. Food is your life. That's why they call it lifestyle. You can't have a lifestyle without food. Food will be I think it will be the economy of the future. If you have food, you'll be very, very wealthy. My dad always said, if I had all the food on earth and you had all the money on earth, I'd soon have all your money and you'd be working with me. And from the way I see you work now, I'd have to fire you. He has a sense of humor about things. Yeah. And I tried to learn from that anything that's transitory, if you can't eat it, it will have no value someday.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And that's terrible to say to these people and there are people that get gold first. Well, gold and insurance are good for one thing only, and that's to carry the wealth, to transfer the wealth from one generation to another.
Well, if that's the case,
but if you don't live through it, you got nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as a man, I asked my dad one of the really, really rich people he'd built a house for passed away, and I said, well, gee, how much money did you take with him? My dad said, none of it. So it's very transitory. You don't take your food with you either. But the fact is, food will support life. Money won't necessarily do that. You know that when things go out of, when things are out of control, if you can stay out of the action, if you can stay away from the fights for food, the fights for water, the fights for coal, or fights for any, that's why I live on a wooded property. I've got 5 years of wood stacked up out there. Not because I wanted to, but because we had a drought for 10 years, the trees were falling, I just cut them into firewood. And I've got them stacked out all over.
If the EPA has their way, they won't want you to burn any.
The government is my last concern. Excuse me. If I don't hang around and pay taxes, there will be no government. They will starve to death. Here's how I see the government. When I was in Greenland, the Eskimos would come into the Air Force. I was Army, guarding an Air Force base, but it was an Air Force base in Thule, Greenland. It was a B-52 stopover gas. It was just a provisioning place, but it mainly was a lookout looking down on Russia. We were up there, we were up there at top of the world looking over the hill at Russia. And they had a radar that could, I wasn't a radar operator, I was a medic. But the guy told me, he said they could drop an orange. Somebody could be standing on top of the Kremlin wall and drop an orange, and we'd know it before it hit the ground. I thought, holy cow, that's a lot of power. And imagine what we could do with those missiles down in those silos. And I walked into one of those missile rooms once. I won't tell you what kind it was. I walked in, and I stood there, and I looked up. And I just kept looking up till my neck was till my head was